Welcome to another episode at the Schoolhouse Arts and History Center, home of the Bethel Park Historical Society. I'm your host, Bill Haberther, and I would like to welcome you. On this episode, we want to kind of take you through the building and the highlights that we've been able to achieve in the past 6 years, as we've raised over $1 million to help renovate this 1905-1917 landmark schoolhouse. Let's go inside. We have a special guest that is joining us today, and we want to walk through the building with her and have her recount some of her memories of going to school here back in the 1940s and 1950s. So stay tuned. Come on inside and join me there. So welcome back. Today, as I mentioned earlier, we have a special guest, whom I'd like to introduce now. It's Noreen Mercer Modry. She's actually a graduate of Bethel High School from 1962.
Correct.
So welcome, Noreen.
Well, thank you, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so glad you asked me to come.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You know, one of the things that we wanted to do is talk to residents who went to school here and kind of do some recollections throughout the building. So we thought it was a perfect opportunity, since we were going to do updates today on the building, to invite you along and just, you know, as we go through the rooms, if you could just give us, you know, an anecdotal story, it would be wonderful.
I'll try. I'll do that.
So what I'd like to do is I know you went to school here, and you also graduated from this school next door when the Park Avenue Middle School, which is what I went to, was the high school.
Well, actually, we moved from here. I only went to ninth grade here.
Okay.
And then the new high school was built.
Oh,
so
okay.
it was in 1960 that we moved to the new high school. So I did 10th, 11th, and 12th grades there. So I graduated from the campus school, which is, once again, that's gone too. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we're so fortunate that this building has survived.
Absolutely.
And, you know, with all the efforts of the Historical Society, which you and your husband Jim are members of, you know, you've seen all the changes over the past 6 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you think about all that?
Well, I'm just so amazed and so grateful that this has been done, and to preserve this and to make it such a integral part of the community. It's just wonderful. When people come here and they see what you've done and what we've all done, it's just an extraordinary feat, and I'm so glad that you did this.
Yeah, it's been our pleasure.
Yeah.
You know, we have a handful of dedicated volunteers.
Oh, wonderful, yes.
And Tuesdays and Thursday nights we have work nights, and as you know, during the course of the year we've had many fundraisers, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Sure.
But you know, Noreen, one of the things that we do, our mission statement, is to make this a repository for the history of the community.
Right.
And over the years we've collected items from each of the graduating classes. So what I did is I pulled a few things, and I think there'll be a few surprises.
Okay.
So if we could just take a few minutes and sort of go through a walk to Noreen Mercer, this is your life.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited.
So one of the interesting things that we have been donated is the Parents Teachers Association from Bethel Grade School. And this was done in the 1950s, and someone actually beautifully embossed the album.
That's great.
Unfortunately, it's kind of falling apart. And we'll have close-ups of the images later. But one of the pictures that we could just highlight, again, this 1954, 1955.
Wow, right.
Someone had done a pen and ink drawing of the front of the what was then the Bethel Grade School.
Right.
But as I was going through this album, I happened to notice in the back on page 84. See if you can recognize.
Okay, yeah. In fact, this is this room.
Okay.
And this was my 5th grade room. Had Mrs. Chamberlain, a wonderful teacher. And yeah, here I am right here, sitting right over there.
In the corner. So
In
all
the
the
corner.
desks face the blackboard
front,
behind
yeah,
us.
that way, yeah.
And they were bolted to the floor because we can actually see.
Well, I don't think these were bolted to the floor at the time.
okay.
Yeah, these were the movable desks back
Okay.
then. Yeah, they actually had taken some of those desks out, the older ones that will, you know, up in the other classroom. So
So
yeah.
what are you all doing here? It's
I don't know. I think it was probably geography.
Geography, yeah.
That's what we were doing, because
So
looking at the globe.
all of your classmates, and there you are.
Yeah.
Which is a fun little memory.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You just never know when you're going to come across
Never,
something.
yeah. And the great thing is I remember every single one of them. It's amazing how the memories come back when you come to this place, which is another just great thing, that when you come here, it brings back those memories.
Warm
and it's
memories.
just wonderful.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So, that was sort of your grade school years.
Yeah.
And then, we can move on to, do you recognize this book?
Oh my gosh, it's my beacon. That's what they called it, yeah.
The first Beacon was published in 1931.
Oh, okay.
And we
Oh,
actually
yeah.
almost have a full collection of yearbooks from 1931. We're missing some of the newer yearbooks, but it's
Okay.
wonderful in our library, and we'll point those out later on. But when I was going through this, you are in alphabetical, and why are you the last picture when you're in M?
Well, I realized that we had a small class. It was like 240 students, I think, back then, so which is considered a small class.
Right.
And I was sitting in one of the classrooms, I forget what it was, at the high school, and they were working on the yearbook, and they said, "We forgot 2 people." And I said, and they I don't know why they looked at me, and they said, "We forgot Noreen." So subsequently, I'm the last person in the yearbook, which is sort of memorable.
Unto itself.
It's fine.
So, Noreen, you were just talking about other famous classmates, and you mentioned Judy McConnell. Can you
Right.
just give us a little?
Yeah, here she is here, Judy. I was friends with her through junior high school or middle school, what they call it now, and we graduated together. She was a Bethette, I was a majorette, so we did a lot of things together. But she was always in the school plays, and she just loved the theater. And she actually went to Carnegie Tech, which is now Carnegie Mellon at the
Right.
time. And then she became Miss Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And then she went on to do movies. She was on a number of soap operas. She had a starring role in, it was called Santa Barbara. It was a,
Oh, I remember
yeah,
that show,
she was
yeah.
Sophia Capwell, I remember that. Yeah, but she's just a really nice person too. She came to our, I think our 40th, I'm trying to think, it was our 40th class reunion. She was there, and it was Judy,
Right.
Yeah, she was not anybody special. She just was one of the
A regular
students, yeah.
Bethel.
Yeah, but she's been in a number of things, and it's fun to see her in movies.
Sure.
I'll always try to find out where she is and what she's doing. So.
Well, interestingly enough, Judith Ann McConnell, Judy, the first line in her description here is Bethel's answer to Helen Hayes.
Yeah, so there she lived
did
up
what
her.
she set out to do,
Yeah,
which was
she lived
wonderful.
her dream.
Now, when you were in high school, you also were the head majorette
Yes,
in your
I was.
senior year.
Yeah, yep.
So if we flip to the section for the majorettes,
Yeah.
there you are there.
That's me there. Yeah, here I am.
And here you are in
Yes.
your majorette.
And I look exactly the same.
Do you still have the uniform?
No, they were the school's uniform. No,
Oh, okay.
we couldn't keep them. Yeah,
Okay.
we had our own boots and we had to make our own tassels. And the batons we had, I don't know if these are it or not. They were lighted batons. They had batteries in them and they weren't balanced. And they were really difficult to twirl, but we did it, anyway. But then if you happen to drop it, which, when you're a majorette and you twirl batons, that's what happens, it would like flame out. It would just like get really bright and then go to nothing. So that was always fun to do. But yeah, but they were lighted batons. That was one of our claims to fame in Bethel.
Oh, that's so interesting. And one of the things that we try and do, now that we're up and running and we host a lot of venues, private and corporate events here, we do a lot of class reunions. So when we do have a class reunion coming into the schoolhouse, we have a file from each of the graduating classes.
That's a good idea, yeah.
So before you came, I pulled the file for
my God.
1962. It's a little thin.
Yeah.
But see if you remember a couple of these items. The commencement.
Oh, sure.
From the class of
that's
1962.
right. Yeah. That was done in the auditorium. We had, because the field wasn't done yet, and we would use this field over here for our football games because the field wasn't done at Bethel, the campus school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, do you remember Talawanda?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
1962.
We were in that every year. The majorettes always did
And I
a couple
think-
of routines. Yeah. Here we are. Here we did Oh gosh, yeah. The Baton Ballet was me and Patty Dorning and Mila Redinger, Leslie Straub, Joy Farrell, and Paula Lauterball. She was the other senior that year. So we did a Baton Ballet. And then we did another selection that was a can-can, and they invited boys from the varsity club to be part of it, so they dressed up like girls. So it was like the first camp show, so to speak.
Okay, all
and
right.
it was fun. It was a fun time. So yeah, the Tellurama was always fun.
Yeah, I remember doing those productions when I was a senior in
Yeah.
Bethel. And then lastly, they must have done a production of Faust,
Yeah.
May 5th, 1962.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we like to ask residents, if you have any of this memorabilia and you would like to donate to the Historical Society so we can create a file for your graduating class, please do so. We always welcome things of that nature. And then one other thing, Noreen, I know that you were born and raised in Bethel Park, and
Correct.
actually a long-term resident of Coverdale,
Right.
which is one of 2 mining patches
Right.
in Bethel Park. And back in 1939,
Okay.
they did the Bethel Township News.
Right, I remember.
And
that, yeah.
unfortunately, these are just Xerox copies. But if you are glancing through this particular one, which is always fascinating to read the stories
know,
about
it
who
is.
was
Yeah,
on vacation, and all the ads for the various companies that were in Bethel Park at that time. If you could, the third paragraph
Oh, yeah.
there, and you don't have your glasses.
I can see it fine.
Okay.
That's good. I've got good eyes.
If you could just read that.
My dad, Norris Mercer's water hauler in mine number 8, was injured June 27th while turning a pole on a motor.
So that was 1939.
Yeah, right.
Do you remember him telling any stories about that?
No.
His injury? Well, he was an avid soccer player.
Oh, he was, yeah. He actually hurt his ankle in the mine. A piece
Okay.
of slate fell on his ankle. And back then, he went to the doctors, but I don't think he went to the hospital, and really was never set correctly. But it didn't stop him from being a tremendous soccer player, a tremendous golf player. He loved his sports. He was on a softball team. He was so that just never stopped him. So
That's-
yeah,
because-
he always did that. Yeah, so it's interesting.
It's
but he
neat when you
got
read
hurt.
this, and all of a sudden you realize, that's a
Yeah, I don't know
family member.
how maybe that's when he got hurt, or maybe that's how he hurt his ankle.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
We also have another wonderful photograph of the Coverdale soccer team.
Oh yeah,
Of which he and his brothers
Yeah.
were members.
Yep.
So,
Uncle Jimmy and Uncle Joe. Yeah.
So do you remember any interesting stories in this particular classroom?
From this classroom, I sort of remember, like I said, studying geography. I loved geography and I loved history, and I always did. And I just remember those in this classroom because we had the globe, and you could look at them, and then you would find out where they are. But you look at the globe today; it's so different. It's not even the same countries anymore.
Right.
So that makes a difference. Yeah, just good memories of good people, and fun times, and just a great place to be and grow up.
All right, Noreen, if you don't mind, how about if we just kind of walk through the building?
Okay.
Go to the classrooms, get a little update, and if you have any interesting tidbits of stories to tell us,
See if I
you can
can-
share those.
Okay,
All right.
I will do.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're standing in our Coal Miners Museum, and it's just another example of the importance of this building, and it's commemorating Bethel Park and its history. We have representation, photographs, and coal miners' lunch
Right,
boxes,
yeah.
and fire safety lanterns, and a huge lump of coal. Some wonderful photographs. So between the Coverdale mine and the Molyneux mine,
Right.
we feel as though we're representing our community, and it certainly was the backbone of the economy.
Absolutely, it was
in
at the
Bethel,
time, yeah.
and helped this area grow
It grew
into
like
what
it
it
did.
is today.
Yeah.
Another thing I
else?
just want to point out, we're actually the home of the first use of landmine back in 1927.
Oh, okay.
So back in March, we just celebrated the 95th anniversary of the Flathead Gang
That's right, yeah,
robbing
from them, yeah.
the payroll from the Coverdale mine. And they actually had stolen 10 50-pound kegs of dynamite from the Molyneux mine on Monday, and on Friday they lay in wait for the Brinks armored truck, who was making a delivery for the payroll for the
Right.
Coverdale
Yeah,
mine,
that's
and they stole $104,000.
Wow.
Which was never recovered. So, who knows? Somewhere in
I
Bethel
know.
there could
We
be
should
a,
start
a
digging.
fortune.
That's right. Dig breaking out walls.
All right, well, let's continue our tour throughout the building,
Okay,
Noreen.
sounds
Thanks.
good.
Okay, so Noreen, we're in what we like to call our co-op room. And this is basically, for many years, local artists have come into this room and done, painting classes and things of that nature. And Jean Benson, who will be 104 in October, she is still teaching a toll painting class for the past 10 weeks in this
Crazy.
room. But what's really nice is, a lot of the original decorations, if you will, the room were taken down through various iterations over the course of the years. So the blackboards, the beading,
Yeah.
the wallboard were
Right.
removed. So when we came in and did our renovations, we just skim coated the walls, and we thought it was an excellent opportunity to hang some art and showcase some artists. And what's interesting right now, we have the Ira James Smith collection. And Ira was born in 1879, and he passed away in 1964, and he's buried, he and his wife, in Bethel Cemetery. But he had married into the Holtz family, which was one of the original 500-acre
Right,
families
yeah.
in Bethel.
I think down beside St. Germain's Church, is
Yes.
that what they were?
Well,
Yeah.
no, that was the Krakow family.
Oh, okay,
They
yeah,
were on
I see.
Bethel Church Road.
Oh, Bethel, okay, yes, that's right.
But this painting in the middle was a self-portrait of Ira, and all the paintings in this room, with the exception of 2, were done by him. So his grandson had this incredible collection, and when he had passed away, his widow contacted us and the Pittsburgh Historical Society and the Heinz History Center and said, would any of you like to have this collection? And so we were very fortunate that after sort of negotiating with the widow, that we were able to get this collection. And if you remember, there were about 1,000 glass plate negatives.
That's right, I do remember when you got those.
Yeah, because he was a photojournalist.
Yeah, oh, that's
So
right,
we have
yeah.
some wonderful images which we'll have printed
great.
and maybe used as a fundraiser in the future
Be
for
perfect.
limited signed
Yeah,
prints.
yeah.
But you and I were just talking about your husband Jim's sister
Right.
was an artist, and did she take classes?
She
in
took
the building?
classes here, yeah.
Okay.
A tremendous artist, yeah. She's done pictures of our kids, but yeah, she enjoyed her time here. They did remarkable work as far as her medium was more with graphite. She liked the pencil drawings, but she did everything here. She did oils and watercolors and everything. So yeah, it was a great place to, and that's before all this was done, of course.
Right.
It was, I think about at least 15, 20 years ago that she was here, so yeah.
So, the group has been in the building a long
Yeah.
time, and as you know, we actually, this is the home of the Bethel Park Historical Society, but our official name is the Schoolhouse Arts and History Center. So anytime we can showcase local artists, and as well as the history of the community, it's to
Oh, yeah, it's
our
perfect.
benefit.
Yeah, love it.
And also in this room in the corner, we have the original bell from St. Valentine's
right.
Church,
That one
and the one on
Okay.
the copper one.
Two bits.
And the other one is from the Irish Town School.
That's right, I do remember when you got that, yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
another sense of the history community that
Right.
we're fortunate enough to display.
Yep. In fact, the bell from St. Valentine's, just since you brought that up, we were the last couple to get married at
Oh, wow.
the old St. Valentine's. So
Okay.
probably that bell rang for us.
For your wedding?
Exactly.
How
In
apropos.
1965 it was. So,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of good history.
See,
Yeah.
you were the right person
That's
to have
right.
as our first
I know.
guest
I
speaker.
have a connection to almost everything.
Okay, great. Thanks, Noreen.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ben.
So we're now standing up in the lobby in the second floor of the building, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of things in this particular area. First of all, I'd like to thank the Rotary Club of Upper St. Clair, Bethel Park, the Breakfast Club, who a couple of weeks ago, they came in and they repainted the lobby for us. So thank you very much. Also, one of our members, Harold Rosenberger, for the past several months has been diligently removing all the transoms and some of the doors within the building, stripping them of layers and layers of paint, and then staining them. For the first time in decades, the transom over to the right of me has had glass put back in it, and we're currently waiting for a couple of the other transoms to be replaced. But I also wanted to highlight through the efforts of U.S. State Representative Natalie Mihalik, she garnered a $170,000 grant for us. It was the Gaming and Economic Development Fund, basically Bethel Park residents' taxes coming back to the building. So we received this $170,000 grant, and this is what you can get for that type of money. So behind door number 1, are 4 heating units, which now heats the second floor of the building. Outside, there are 4 air conditioning units, which also cools the building. So for the first time in decades, the second floor of the building is now heated and cooled. So we greatly appreciate all of Natalie's efforts in getting us this grant. As you can see at the end of this long hallway in the closet, John Oakes of All Pro Plumbing also installed a utility sink for us. You know, it's terrific to have a certified board member who is a certified plumber. So many thanks to John Oakes, because now when we clean up here and we mop the floors, we no longer have to carry up a heavy bucket because we can fill that bucket up here. So thank you very much. Maureen, so here we are at what we now lovingly call the Bethel Park Community Foundation Auditorium. And as you know, when you do fundraising, one of the ways that we raise money was for people to have naming rights to each of the rooms. So in 1905, this was an auditorium, but somewhere over the decades, it was split into 2 rooms. So when we were renovating upstairs, we wanted to take it back to its 1905 floor plan, so we took the wall down. And through the generosity of the foundation, they contributed $20,000 to do this room. As you can see, it's amazing. We just had our board meeting here yesterday, and Tav Church used to use this for Sunday services and Bible study, and they graciously donated $6,000 worth of chairs. So we now have 100 chairs in the room, and they also donated a 60-plus flat screen TV. But you know, do you have any memories of being up in this classroom?
This was divided into 2 rooms.
The 2.
And they were the 4th grade rooms when I came here. Miss Cameron was over here. Miss Foster was over here, and we had our 4th grade. And then actually, they closed the school down in 1956, and then they opened it back up for the junior high school. It was like an annex, they called it.
Right.
And we had classes in here too, so I came back again and had social studies and math and science in this building again.
Okay.
So, you know, you always come back.
It's interesting that we're seated on these chairs, and they have a historical
yeah.
significance because they actually were from the Coverdale Mission,
Right.
Which was a satellite of the Bethel Presbyterian Church.
Mm-hmm.
And the back of the chairs actually have a place for
Yeah.
the Bibles and
Yeah,
hymnals.
yeah.
These were in the building when we inherited it.
Wow.
We actually have 14 of them. Some of them are on loan right now.
Okay.
But did you, as the child, did you go to the?
Yeah, we would go. They had a Saturday morning, I guess, class. I don't know what it was for the kids in the neighborhood, mostly the coal miner kids.
Okay.
And we would go Saturday mornings and make crafts and, you know, just meet up and have some Kool-Aid and a couple of cookies. And it was just a fun thing. And it was right above where I lived, so it was real close. It was very convenient, yeah.
Do you remember any of the crafts, what you made?
Well, we made macaroni necklaces. I was like,
Okay.
yeah, and they would be, for some reason, they were colored. I don't know, that
Okay.
was, and we would make necklaces and string them and then wear them home and then
eat them? Like,
yeah.
okay.
We didn't even cook them. We just ate them raw.
Nice and crunchy.
That's exactly right, you know.
But you know, again, some wonderful memories.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
You know,
so
you
much.
could have sat in this very chair.
Probably, yeah, right, yeah. We were in the basement though, so I'm not sure these chairs weren't they up in the,
actual
yeah, right.
Sanctuary.
Yeah, I believe, yeah, yeah.
Where they did services.
yeah.
But it's still amazing.
Oh
that,
my gosh,
they
to have
have
this,
survived,
right, I know,
and
and
they're still here, and,
Yeah.
and we're sitting on a piece of history.
I know, always good.
So welcome back, Noreen.
Well, thanks,
We're in
Bill.
one of my favorite spots
Yes.
in the whole building,
Oh,
our
this-
classroom museum on the second floor. And we literally just finished putting this room back together last week. We had some water damage, so we had to do some replastering, some
That's great.
repainting. And we had a gentleman that came in and donated his time to repaint all the trim and
Looks
the casements. So
really
it
nice.
looks incredible.
Yes, it does.
We've got desks dating back to the late 1800s. And when people walk in for the first time, they're like, I had that desk when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
So do you have any fond memories of
Yes,
being in this room?
This was my 3rd grade class. We had
Okay.
Mrs. Hotchkiss was one of my favorite teachers, and I can remember being in here. I think I sat sort of over in that area, as I recall.
Okay.
And one of the fondest memories I have in here is we would have math bees, they were called, instead of
Okay.
spelling bees, where she would put problems on the board, and we would have teams and go up and write down the answers as soon as you could, and the first team that was done, you would get Gold Star probably, or
Okay.
something like that back then. But that was one of the things I remember in here. But just great memories, and showing how it's been restored is it's heartwarming. I love it. It's so glad that, this is happening.
It's truly been a
Yeah.
remarkable journey. Noreen, I brought you outside to do a final wrap-up of our wonderful morning that we spent together, and I just want to thank you for giving us.
glad you asked me.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Just to give us some insight in the history of your recollections of what transpired at this school. And we're standing in this particular spot because I just wanted to highlight, as I've stated earlier, many of the local organizations have given us money for have the rooms named after them. And one of those organizations was the Bethel Women's Club. And they had written a $10,000 check, so one of the upstairs classrooms will be named after them. But what's significant out here is last year they celebrated their 80th anniversary. And the symbol of the Bethel Women's Club is the rose. So they had asked us if they could donate some rose bushes to be planted at the school in honor of the Bethel Women's Club. So in this newly mulched area, Jim and Lisa Jenkins of Jim Jenkins Lawn and Garden Center had gotten the rose bushes for us and just planted those last week. So pretty soon they'll be, in bloom, and it'll just be a wonderful thing. It's another amazing story about the local community and how they've really rallied to the support of this building. And with that being said, I know you had attended our wonderful Reese Across America fundraiser back in
What a wonderful event that was.
it was truly credible. To honor the veterans. And then back in November on Veterans Day, we had installed the St. Valentine's flagpole, which had been donated by the Veterans of Foreign Wars back in 1961. So with another wonderful donation from the Bethel Park Community Foundation of $10,000, and also some private individuals, Dan McPoyle was instrumental in getting this flagpole donated to the Historical Society. And we can proudly see that the American flag and the Vietnam, the POW flag is flying, and it's a little bit windier outside.
It makes them unfurl nicely.
It does. And, the other thing that we had done, and we could still continue to do as a fundraiser, is we have our Park Avenue beautification project. So last year we had planted 15 trees along the front of the building and also Park Avenue. And those are $500 each, and that comes with perpetual care and also a plaque honoring a loved one organization. And our most recent donation to honor a fellow who had passed away, John Clatter, is where this cone is over in the yard. We're getting a 6-foot Canadian fir evergreen tree, which will be wonderful for Christmas.
that'll be wonderful.
So when it comes time to have breakfast with
Is it gonna
Santa,
be lighted?
it will be. The
wonderful.
electrician's coming in the next couple of weeks, and he's going to put an outlet outdoors for us so we can have it lit and do
great.
lights. So, there are many ways that the community could help sponsor the Bethel Park Historical Society. As you know, through membership, it's a $20 individual membership or a $40 family membership, which allows you to use the facilities at the Heinz History Center
Exactly,
or
which we
any
have
Smithsonian,
done. Yeah,
which is
yeah,
great. So you
yeah.
just show your membership
Yeah.
card and you get in for
Actually,
free.
The History Center down there.
Oh, really? The Steelerettes?
Steelerettes are there.
Oh,
yes.
that's great.
Yeah,
That's
very
great.
fun.
And so we're doing that and a couple other fundraisers. So, you can always find out information of what we're doing on our Facebook page, Bethel Park Historical Society. And I'm the admin, so you can always send a message. If you have any fundraising ideas or items to donate, or you want to donate your time or write us a check, we'll always say thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
All good.
Noreen, it was such a pleasure, and thank you for your time this
I've
morning.
had a great time. Thank you for doing this. And
All right.
Thank you for asking me.
All right, my pleasure.
Okay.
Take care. Okay, thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Bill Haberther of the Bethel Park Historical Society. We look forward to doing another show, and as I said, please join the Historical Society, show your support, and we look forward to seeing everyone at our next meeting, the last Sunday of the month at 1 o'clock. Until then, Bill Haberther signing out. Thank you.